This is Optimal Living Daily, episode 1930, Timeboxing, the #1 productivity hack for actually doing your to-do list, by Kowalski of Sloww.co. And I'm Justin Malik, the guy that reads to you every single day of the year from the best blogs I can find covering personal development or self-help, minimalism, productivity, and more. And I have yet another new author today. I'll tell you about Kyle right after today's reading. So with that, let's get right to it and start optimizing your life. Timeboxing, the #1 productivity hack for actually doing your to-do list, by Kowalski of Sloww.co. I'm fascinated by time, the variety of ways that humans have found to spend 24 hours of time, that the current lifespan in the US is 1% of recorded history, and that time is a finite resource. So naturally, I highly value time and like to find ways to make the most of it. Time is life, after all. I've previously written about my love for time blocking. Turns out it also goes by another name, timeboxing. Either way, for a year or two now, I don't think any productivity hack has changed my life for the better as much as this one. Although I should note that this assumes you are already saying no and applying essentialism as much as possible in your life and work. So it's no surprise to me when a report titled The Definitive 100 Most Useful Productivity Tips, which waded through hundreds of articles and ranked the 100 most frequently cited productivity tips, ranked timeboxing as the #1 most useful productivity tip out of all 100. But what is it exactly? What is timeboxing or time blocking? Timeboxing defined, quote, in time management, timeboxing allocates a fixed time period called a time box within which planned activity takes place. It is employed by several project management approaches and for personal time management, end quote. In 2012, Daniel Markovits wrote this in the Harvard Business Review, quote, the alternative to the feckless to-do list is what I call living in your calendar. That means taking your tasks off the to-do list, estimating how much time each of them will consume, and transferring them to your calendar. Don't forget to leave time to process your email and leave some empty space, 1 to 2 hours each day, to deal with the inevitable crises that will crop up. In essence, you're making a production plan for your work, end quote. Cal Newport helped popularize the concept in a 2013 blog post where he said, quote, I call this planning method time blocking. My goal is to make sure progress is being made on the right things at the right pace for the relevant deadlines. This type of planning to me is like a chess game, with blocks of work getting spread and sorted in such a way that projects big and small all seem to click into completion with just enough time to spare. A 40-hour time-blocked work week, I estimate, produces the same amount of output as a 60-plus hour work week pursued without structure, end quote. And finally, in 2018, the definitive 100 most useful productivity tips was published with timeboxing at #1. Quote, at the core, it's simple. Assign a fixed period of time to a task, schedule it, and stick to it. It works because it touches on so many aspects of behavior, single tasking and focus to achieve more and feel less stressed, prioritizing work to observe deadlines, and frequent feelings of accomplishment. Quote, the benefits of calendarized timeboxing are many, varied, and highly impactful. The practice improves how we feel, control, how much we achieve as individuals, personal productivity, and how much we achieve in the teams we work in, enhanced collaboration. This may be the single most important skill or practice you can possibly develop as a modern professional, as it buys you so much time to accomplish anything else. Mark Zal Sanders. 10 timeboxing tips to get started. Timeboxing tip #1, think of this as a supplement to your to-do list. You don't have to completely ditch your to-do list. Timeboxing is simply taking your to-do list and putting it in a calendar format. More often than not, to-do lists seem to linger and tasks get bumped from one day to the next to the next. Time blocking helps resolve that and makes your to-do list a to-done list. Quote, what gets scheduled gets done. Daniel Pink. Timeboxing tip #2, start from a base of essentialism. When you first transfer your to-do list to a calendar, you'll likely run out of time in the day and days in the week. Then reality sets in that you just can't do it all. It's actually a good thing. The harsh reality of doing one thing means not doing something else, at least at that same time. It's about making intentional trade-offs. Any use of time means a trade-off of something else. Therefore, we should want to spend as much of our time as possible on the things that are truly most important to us. Apply essentialism and saying no to help you identify the vital few things from the trivial many, pursue a life of less but better, and practice the hard arts of subtraction and simplicity in your life. Timeboxing tip number 3, start with 15-minute, 30-minute, and 60-minute blocks. Tim Urban, author of the amazing blog Wait But Why, acknowledged that we have 100 10-minute blocks per day. That's 1,000 minutes or about 16.7 hours, the amount of waking time we roughly have each day to live. Apparently Elon Musk time boxes in 5-minute blocks. It seems a little excessive to me, but I'm also not Elon Musk. When you first start time blocking, you probably won't be very good at accurately estimating how long tasks take. Almost all of us underestimate the true amount of time it takes to do something. Start with easy time increments. Timeboxing tip number 4, plan for breaks. Speaking of being bad at estimating time, leave some space or margin or buffer on your calendar for unexpected things that come up, as well as intentional breaks. According to research, restorative breaks are good for you, not laziness. Timeboxing tip number 5, track your actuals during the day or at the end of the day. Timeboxing gets better the more you do it. Instead of using a separate time tracking app, recording actual time spent in your calendar by adjusting the blocks to reality shows you how you spent your time. Over time, you'll also naturally get better about estimating your time if you can visualize and analyze the actuals later. Timeboxing tip number 6, try it digitally versus on paper. Cal Newport does his time blocking on paper, but I can't imagine how much time he spends editing and revising his blocks as life happens. I use Google Calendar, which syncs from my laptop to my phone for easy access. I'm also constantly moving blocks around within a given day, as well as day to day. This is important. The amount of time isn't changing, just when it's happening. The previous tip about tracking your actual time spent after the fact is insanely easier when you can just adjust things digitally in a matter of seconds and get a holistic view of your day or week. Timeboxing tip number 7, consider your energy, not just your time. What type of person are you? Morning bird or night owl? If you know you work best in 90-minute cycles, incorporate that. If you just want to grind out 3 to 4 hours straight, which seems to be a common theme with writers doing that with their first 3 to 4 hours of each day, time block that way. Managing your time is only as effective as managing your energy during that time. Timeboxing tip number 8, use recurring events to make your life easier. The more you can schedule things for specific days and times, the more you'll be able to develop consistent habits. Timeboxing tip number 9, it's only going to be life-changing through building a habit of consistency. Doing it for a week may not help. Doing it for a year is life-changing. Consistency is the boring secret to real productivity. Quote, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. Will Durant. And timeboxing tip number 10, take control of your life and try it today. Because, quote, if you don't prioritize your life, someone else will. Greg McKeown, author of Essentialism. You just listened to the post titled, Timeboxing, the #1 productivity hack for actually doing your to-do list by Kowalski of Sloww.co. And thank you to Kyle. Come visit Sloww.co for a lot more. Slow is spelled with 2 W's, by the way. And I have that linked in this episode's description if you forget. He's a corporate dropout turned solopreneur who found and created his life purpose after an existential crisis, which could be a pretty close summary of myself, actually. So come by his site and show Kyle some support. I feel like I haven't covered timeboxing in a while, although I do remember one of the first episodes of this show was all about it, a post from Steve Pavlina way back in the year 2015 on episode 15. So if you like the idea and want some more tips, that's another episode to check out. Although I'm not too sure what my narration was like back then after only 2 weeks of experience. Anyways, thanks again to Kyle. That'll do it for today. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow, where your optimal life awaits.